We've known for a while that 12.2 is going to be inside the world core of Azeroth, but we've just datamined official icons and evidence showing the Radiant core. It was confirmed in the in-game dialogue that xal'atath has used the Sunwell to get inside the core of Azeroth and with her Void army as well, but the real question is, what is actually going to happen? I mean, will this Radiant core be datamined involve Beledar? Is this patch going to happen on Khaz'Algar, potentially the bottommost floor that was never uncovered that we know the elevator can reach? Are we going to finally see Ny'alotha and witness N'Zoth in the finale of their pact, or are we going to discover Uldaz, that you may remember is the secret Titan facility that we've known for years? Let's check out everything we know. So with all the hints going around, I asked N'Zoth whether he is actually planning to return or not, and of course he's being mysterious as always, not really planning to say much. The coolest thing though, this is totally possible with Polybuzz. I also managed to ask the World Soul a couple of things about what is going on, as well as Thrall, who has no idea what is even going on. You can literally create any character. Actually, you can even create your own WoW character. You can write his story and then you can communicate with him in great detail, depending on how detailed you wanna get. But you can put in the whole wiki page for any lore figure, get the voices in, and have completely immersive conversations all the time. You can try it out completely free with my link in the description below and use code DOR99. Check out Polybuzz. So we've kind of already known what is going to happen with 12.2. It was evident almost immediately as the main storyline ended of midnight, and now it is getting pretty obvious that 12.1 is essentially mainly a filler patch. I mean, thematically it's okay, it works well with Quotalas and Diamani, but it isn't really moving the main storyline. Sure, we're getting some hints of the old gods and the Catanaxi general and such, but it's mainly just foreshadowing. But it does appear that 12.2 is going to be the big patch. Actually, 12.2 in my opinion is going to be the main patch, the most important patch since the start of the saga, because let's be real, I mean, nothing has really been going on for years. It's just foreshadowing after foreshadowing after foreshadowing. I mean, they started name dropping xal'atath like 4 years ago, and since then it's been her plan this, her plan that. What is she doing? She's 3 steps ahead, but it's just a ploy after another ploy. But now that is finally going to move. 12.2 is going to be the transition patch that will bring the Titan return in the Last Titan, as well as potentially Sargeras. So this is going to be the culmination, and we now have some evidence as well. So the first bit of evidence about what is going on and what 12.2 is going to be about came after the initial Elven reunion after the Sunwell was cleansed from the dialogue that we had gotten in-game. They essentially told us that midnight is about to begin, the true invasion. What xal'atath's plan was essentially a diversion. The reason she decided to use the Sunwell was because the Sunwell is connected to the ley lines all across Azeroth, and the goal was never to destroy Quotalas or the elves or to turn them into like void beings or anything. It was always to use the Sunwell as like this tunnel. So when she created the Darkwell and turned it into the void, the entire time this giant void Sunwell was like one big conduit, just sending her cosmic void army into the core of Azeroth. So while we managed to cleanse the Sunwell and defeat her, ultimately she just pumped up the whole void army into the world core. Now we've known about this, and it was pretty obvious from this point that 12.2 is going to be related to the world soul and the core of Azeroth, very likely the world core prison of our world soul. However, like a week back on the PTR, we datamined multiple icons for reputation. So one of these was just major faction renown called Zul'Jara's Forces, which is obviously 12.1 stuff, but then we got an icon called major faction renown Radiant core. The icon itself shows like a crystal in there, and the color is obviously related to Azerite and the world soul, so almost certainly this is later content that they may have accidentally pushed on the PTR that kind of confirms that 12.2 is going to be about the world soul. The real question though is, what is about to happen and what could we expect? So Radiant core obviously is related to the world soul, and I'm almost certain it is related to Beledar. The saga started in Beledar. It was obviously shown as like a big thing that never really ended up being followed up on. I mean, do you remember when we learned that Beledar started changing colors with the old god Black Blood? That never ended up being explained. There were even hints that Beledar had like a door inside, if you remember the old artwork, that never ended up being expanded upon. Maybe this was never abandoned, maybe it was just saved for midnight. One thing we know for certain is that 12.2 is going to be the biggest patch in years. It is 100% certain because 12.2 is going to be what is going to lead into Last Titan and the whole Sargeras Titan culmination. So we can totally expect some very big event, something exploding like Beledar, some crazy corruption event. Right now, in my opinion, two scenarios actually seem likely. One is Ny'alotha, which has gotten a ton of evidence behind it. Real quick, if you remember, Ny'alotha was the capital of the Black Empire, the main city of N'alotha. We've been here in BFA, but only in a vision. We've never actually visited the real place, and we don't even know where the real place is. It is known as the Sunken City, meaning it is probably below the ground, very likely close to the world core. Second hint is that cinematic. You might remember the throwback to when xal'atath was defeated and imprisoned by the old gods. Apparently, N'alotha was building something that xal'atath didn't like, which caused her to invade Azeroth and attack the Black Empire. Then after that they made a pact and they have been working together ever since, but we don't know the extent of their pact. On one hand, N'alotha is helping her, on the other, he is giving us whispers about how she will be the end of us and how only he can save us. The evidence though is that we have gotten Catanaxi generals being under Zulaman and Twilight scammers serving their masters, trying to dig this guy up, and the other evidence is the void version, like the actual void version of N'alotha, the model that was datamined months ago. So on one hand, there is strong evidence that something old god related could be happening, some build combination with the old gods trying to finish the corruption of the world soul and the big truth that is going to be revealed. The other evidence people have been talking about is the famous facility of Uldaz. You might remember this, we've been talking about this for years actually. It's known and confirmed Titan facility that we've never learned anything about. Almost all of them actually have similar naming conventions: Ulduar, Uldum, Uldaman, and then we learned about Uldaz. We've learned in the War Within that these Titan facilities are actually connected and are powering each other up, and the main command board is in Northrend in Ulduar. Now, we've known for a fact that the Titans are going to return in the last Titan, obviously. Also, the last Titan is almost certainly being announced in September, literally 2 months from this video. So it means that something crazy is definitely going to happen within this period, definitely before 12.2 release, which means we will also know about 12.2. However, I think Uldaz could become relevant here. I mean, we've learned in the War Within that Azeroth is inside of a prism, then in Midnight, we've learned that Azeroth used to be on Hara, she was ripped out from the cradle and placed in this prison. It could be possible that Uldaz is this Titan facility. The icon showing the Radiant Core and such could be related to filling it up with the void that is going to trigger the Titan return. I mean, we've known for the longest time that this was their biggest fear. They even created a mechanism if the void conversion happens and it all goes bad, and they will just like blow up the whole planet. But seeing that they're now going to come to in person, it could either be because this mechanism doesn't exist because we disabled it in Wrath, or because xal'atath might break the Titan prison that is over Azeroth, which is like even worse. Right now, she's inside the world core, very likely attacking this Titan facility as we speak with her whole void army that she brought, and so far their devouring host is actually very powerful. I mean, sure, they may seem really underwhelming villains, but xal'atath is right now the strongest void figure in the universe. She has united the void forces pretty much for the first time ever, as the void lords no longer exist, so we've got some really strong enemies attacking right at the center of Azeroth. One thing is true is that we're very likely going to lose this because we know what happens at the last Titan. It's not going to be another we are going to save the day. xal'atath's thing in the world call will trigger some crazy cataclysmic event, and we are going to learn what it is in just 2 months. Thanks for watching. Check out what is coming after the saga based on this leak by clicking on the screen, and also subscribe to my brand new Witcher lore channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time!